White, everyone. Hello, Geisikus Squat Kapiniskus. Oki, bonjour, bonjour, hola. Hello, Tansei, Tanishi. If I haven't said hello in a way that speaks to your heart, body, mind, or spirit, please feel free to say hello in the chat and just say hello anyway. We're incredibly grateful that you're here with us for our final installment of the fall virtual workshops. My goodness, how have we come here already? It is October 28th and it's outdoor learning in the early years. And I don't have a poster for you, but we will be back in winter for our next seasonal bunch. So check back in, check your newsletters. We will be releasing that soon. Okay, I'm joining you today. I live along the banks of Sunhunhuitqua in Insulchin. That means the Swift River, and that's along these banks and in this place, it's the home of the Snikst, the people of the bull trout. And I have been deeply, deeply connected to the land through the change of the seasons at the moment. But actually, I've been hosting the walking curriculum for an early years course with Gillian, who's going to speak in a minute. And my homework was, what are the heroic qualities of this place and what are my lines? So this is my walk today with it's my little pup's bottom on the left and my friend's pop's bottom on the right. And the lines we were looking at was how the length of this long path mirrored the height. And we were thinking about all the people that had walked before us in this place. So the Sinixt, but also the Secwepemc, the Syilx, and the Traha First Nations have all walked through this place, have relationship and story to this place. And those stories I hope to honor and live through the way that I take care of this planet. And the heroic qualities of this place are that it can cause such huge change, that this river pushes and pulls. And also, I had a tough week emotionally, just going to be vulnerable about it. And this river is a gift. And one of the beautiful teachings that I've had from multiple people, but most recently from Monique Grace Smith, who's Korean Lakota and Scottish in origin. And she said, you turn your left heart to this river and you let it sweep away any of the things you don't need anymore. And so the heroic quality is that not only can it do things for itself, but it also does things for me. And so these are the teachings that have come to me in my space and the things that are speaking to my heart in this moment. Thanks for bearing with me. Okay, we're on screens, we're busy, seasons changing, it's the cold and flu seasons happening, all these things. And so we care so much that you've joined us today and that you're taking this 60 minutes, or maybe you're watching the recording, you're welcome either way. But we want to just have a moment for a caring corner. And again, this is a teaching Monique Grace Smith has shared with me about how we open spaces and how we just have a breathe. So this is 30 seconds of a river, of a fake one. But I'm just going to invite you to have 30 seconds to breathe. Maybe you close your eyes, or maybe you just take a second, but to just let anything you don't need anymore flow away and spend time with us in this time together. So here we go. Thank you so much. I hope that felt nice for you as it did for me. Okay, friends, I know we're going to get to the delicious meat and potatoes or the vegan meatloaf, whatever tickles your fancy in a little bit here, but we do some really amazing things we're very proud of and we want to share them with you. All of this work, connection to the land, connection to place, we embed Indigenous ways of knowing and being into the work that we do. And in order to keep doing that and growing and learning, we created this course with many, many Indigenous creators, authors, and presenters to give us 4 seasons and lead us into lifelong learning around truth and reconciliation. Season 1 and 2 are online, self-paced, clicking and working through a workbook and multi-visual ways of learning. And seasons 3 and 4 are joining in community on Zoom with teachers and guides who will help us to deepen those relationships with Indigenous people and take action. And whichever season you're on, you're going to show up once a month, or you can watch and listen to the recording and one of these beautiful, diverse Indigenous speakers. So while we're doing truth and reconciliation work, we also need to look at Indigenous excellence and celebrate it and uplift it. And that's what these teachers and these gatherings do. You can sign up just for gatherings. You can sign up for any one season or all four if you're feeling strong and powerful and ready to learn. And so we hope you will join us. I'm very excited that I get to spend time with one of my favourite educators and authors and facilitators and consultants, Laura McLean. Next month, we are starting on social emotional learning strategy. So there'll be two prongs. We're going to be talking about educator strategies specifically for your well-being, staying regulated in your learning spaces, and then also practical activities and adventures you can do with your students of all ages that help you to build their social emotional learning strategies. So we're very excited. Join us if you can. Almost all of you at some point will work and educate Indigenous youth. And our incredible Director of Indigenous Learning, Jenna Jasic, has cultivated this course to support Indigenous children's learning, and specifically through nature-based learning. It's an opportunity to decolonise your learning practice. And even if you don't have a high number of Indigenous students, it's a way for you to look at the way you're teaching and the pedagogies through an Indigenous lens. So we hope, if that speaks to you, that you'll join us there too. Last thing I'm going to share about courses is Monique Graysmith. I'm obsessed because I'm lucky to be hosting her for her Braiding Sweetgrass course at the moment. But she's bringing 4 of her favourite authors in to speak about stories through the winter, one a month. And these are more of a connective, conversational piece and an opportunity to listen and learn. And we hope you will join us because they are magical moments. If you want to certify and understand outdoor learning more thoroughly, we've created a 30-hour asynchronous professional development course that's online in collaboration with Take Me Outside. There's now an early years outdoor play and early learning course, which the incredible Christina Pickles, who's going to speak later, has co-created. We're very excited about that. You can pre-register now and it launches soon. And we've had Take Me Outside days. I'll skip on past, but hopefully you participated. And if not, check out, there'll be the Take Me Outside winter offerings coming up soon. Okay, really quickly, because it's just so interesting to see who's joining us. And it's our last one of the season. I'm launching a quick poll here. So there are limited spaces in the buttons that we're allowed to click. And we have very heavily weighted it towards North America, or what some might call Turtle Island. And so a couple of questions. Who are you as an educator? And if you don't see yourself represented in that list, please feel free to send us a message in the chat box. Or you can click in there, and we're asking also, where are you joining us from? And if it's rest of the world, there's not a space to type, you can type in the chat box. And I'm only going to leave it open for just another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, and I'll share these results with you. So we are primarily early childhood educators, but we do have some folks in older grades. We love you. You're welcome here. And so many of these practical tools can be scaled up and taken into a more complex learning environment. We've got every kind of educator we could think of represented, which just thank you for doing this work. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here. You matter. This work matters. And we've got folks from kind of across our continent, which is a really beautiful thing. Yes, somebody's found the react buttons. Yes, that's on the bottom of your bar. Just you can click a heart, you can send some emojis. And folks, if you need closed captions, because sometimes I use it's mostly me uses strange words, you can find closed captions and enable them, and you'll get a transcript across the bottom of the screen. Okay, last one. While I just pull through and roll through our incredible partnerships, because we have over 100 outdoor learning partners now who are committed to this work, who are maybe they have resources or funding or expertise in a particular place or topic for you. But in the chat, perhaps you can share what is a special outdoor place from your childhood or your early childhood experience. And yeah, feel free to let that roll out through the chat as I share with you a real quick click through of all these phenomenal people doing powerful work. We appreciate them, and we're really grateful that they're here. Look at this, so many beach, desert, farm, grandparents. Yes, lovely, lovely. But we are here for this. We are here to talk about outdoor learning in the early years with some fantastic educators. I'm going to introduce them one by one. But before that, I'm going to introduce Dr. Gillian Judson to share with us. Not only are you assistant professor in education, you've written many, many books on engaging imagination and ecological education, and you've written a walking curriculum for the early years, but there's also an older version, and you just have an incredible way of sharing about imagination. And so, thank you for being here for a minute and sharing with us.
Thank you so much. It's just my pleasure with so many folks that are just interested in education in the early years, getting outside and engaging with the natural world. Three cheers for Jade to begin with, like amazing. I've got 3 minutes. So I want to talk a little bit about this practice. If you're actively involved in outdoor learning, this may be something of interest for you. If you're wanting to take your teaching outdoors within your playgrounds and local spaces with their little ones, also perhaps of interest. A walking curriculum may be for you. The early years work does follow on a text called A Walking Curriculum, Evoking Wonder and Developing Sense of Place K-12. This is a resource that came out of my doctoral studies that started 21 years ago. So it's about how do we emotionally and imaginatively connect to the natural world. It's all combines an approach to teaching called imaginative ecological education. So it was my great pleasure to work with Clara Redford and Michelle McKay to author this early years specific text. So how might we rethink where learning happens, and how are we as educators planning for outdoor learning, and why is this learning for these children in this way at this time? How do we document that learning? How do we support outdoor learning with texts and literacy, developing literacy and numeracy, creativity, critical thinking skills, all through outdoor practices? So the book is available through the Outdoor Learning School and Store, the original walking curriculum, as well as the early years text. Each walk has a Minds On piece where it frames it in terms of the language of imaginative ecological education. Then there's a walk to do, and then there's consolidating conversations, mentor text. It's really beautifully laid out. It's been published by the Outdoor Learning School and Store, and it's just stunning. It's a gorgeous book, small enough to stick it in your pocket. So we're doing a session right now, a 4-week session on it, and it's been a pleasure to do so. But you can also explore the practice through free resources online, and then available is this resource for you. Imaginative ecological education is something I'm thinking a lot about. I don't think we can develop emotional connections with the natural world without imagination. We have to undo some really strict colonial ways of thinking about the world, and we need to think more relationally in terms of kinship and care and love. So this is at the heart of the approach called imaginative ecological education, where there's also texts available through the Outdoor Learning School and Store. We also have art books that go with the walking curriculum called Playing in the Muck. A lot of opportunities if you're interested in the role specifically of imagination, how to cultivate it, and how to use it to support your students' sense of ecological understanding. And I think that was less than 3 minutes, Jade.
That was incredible.
Maybe 3 minutes and a half. Okay, thank you. I'm really excited about the speakers today, so I'm going to sign off and listen.
Thank you so, so much for being here and sharing with us. The work you do is exceptional and it's accessible and inspiring. So thank you very, very much. All right, we're diving back in, and our first presenter is Christina Pickles. I love this picture of you. Sorry, it's a little bit old from like one of our previous things we did together, but I just feel like if anyone embodies this work, right? Whenever I have people who spend time with you in person or in the ways I've interacted with you in your professional learning is you embody this work and you give all of that permission to play and that permission to be themselves through your work into the people that you train and the kids that you educate. So thank you for doing that. You've been doing it for 20 plus years, and I love that you have a deep respect for childhood educators, and that's super important. You run Get Out Outside and Play, which focuses on supporting early childhood educators. I use your infographics and your posters and your blog posts a lot to help me share with other educators how they can take young people outside safely, or in a way that feels safe to them, of course. And you've been coordinating the Get Outside and Play Early Childhood Network. You run events and conferences, and yeah, you've co-created the early childhood certification, which is coming up very soon. And so thank you very much for being here. Christina Pickles, take the floor.
Thank you, Jade. Let me just share my screen. We can see it.
Perfection.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Jade, for that lovely introduction. I will, before I get into my presentation, I will mention that the Take Me Outside has had a K-12 certification course for a couple of years now, and there was a request for a more focus on the early years. And so we're excited that next week-ish, the course will be launched. And it's 30 hours of online professional learning, working at your own pace, to dive deeper into outdoor play and learning in the early years. So sort of that birth to 5, 6 age group. That's the focus of that course. And I just wanted to share with you a couple of comments from, we've had some educators go through the course already, and they've had some really great things to say about it. One person said that it was great professional enrichment, but also very personally inspiring for her. I love this comment that it was reflective and actionable, and we've tried to put in the theory, but also lots of ideas on how you can implement it in the real world. So with stories from the field and activities that you can lead with the children that you work with. So I'm sure Duncan's going to plop that in the chat if you want to learn more about it, and get on the list for when it is launched. So thank you, Jade, for that. So Get Outside and Play. So Jade, we only have 20 minutes, which isn't very long, and I'll try my best. So I decided to focus on one thing instead of trying to do all the things. Focus on one thing, and we'll get to what that one thing is. So I've been thinking about our role as educators when we're working with children anywhere. And one of the roles of educators is to create that responsive environment that engages children. And 3 elements of that responsive environment would be time. And when I think about time in an outdoor space, our role is to provide lots of time outside. And I know in many settings, it's actually really challenging to provide long periods for children to be outside. And the role of the educator is to figure out, how can we get those long periods of time? How can we adjust lunchtime or snack time or music time or whatever, all the different things we need to cram into our day. So the role of the educator is to provide long periods of time outside, but also time at different times of day outside, different times of year. So thinking about your role in time outdoors is really key. We are the gatekeepers to children's outdoor play in their early years. And so our job is to provide that time. Our second role is to provide space outside. I don't know what it's like where you live, but where I live here in Alberta, a lot of children spend a lot of time in fenced in places with no grass, no trees, cement pads and rubber floors, but children need spaces, a variety of spaces to play in as well. They need that. They need play structures, but they also need to feel the trees and roll down the hills and have that direct contact with the natural world. And the role of the educators is to find ways to allow children to have access to all those different spaces that they can learn from. And finally, we're going to talk about, of course, the one in big red letters. We're going to talk specifically about materials. Another role of the educator is to provide materials for children to engage with, so they can create what's in their minds, so they can learn about how things go together and what they look like. So our job is to provide materials, whether those are natural materials or more loose parts materials that are sort of human created. And so we're going to focus more on those types of materials that you can bring into outdoor spaces, whether you work in a more natural space or in the fenced-in area at your early years program. So what are some ideas for materials that we can engage with? And of course, when we talk about materials, I talk about loose parts. So loose parts are materials that are open-ended, that have many possibilities. And so Simon Nicholson, he wrote a paper in the 1970s, an article called How Not to Cheat Children, and it was all about loose parts. And that's where a lot of our ideas around loose parts have originated. And so here's a definition that he talks about: playing around with the components and variables of the world in order to make experiments and discover new things and form new concepts. And I love those words, components and variables. And so when we think about variables and we often think about loose parts in terms of boards and sticks and all those sorts of physical things. And that's what we're actually going to be talking about mostly. But I also wanted to just pique your mindset around different variables that children are constantly playing with and tinkering with, things like smells. The other day we had children make little containers of different types of smells: electricity, magnetism, gravity, throwing things, gases and fluids, cooking and fire, words, concepts, and ideas. Children are playing with these things constantly and creating new and exciting and sometimes out of this world ideas that we have never ever seen before. And so when you sort of think about loose parts, also think of these other pieces that children are constantly playing with and how can we support that. But we are going to focus more on those physical items that we can bring outside, but don't forget about these other things that can be considered variables. Another quote from Simon Nicholson is talking about, in any environment, both the degree of inventiveness and creativity and the possibility of discovery are directly proportional to the number and kinds of variables in it. So his idea is that we have to have lots of stuff, lots of things for children to mix and play and combine, and it just creates more creativity. And I wonder if sometimes we can have too much stuff too. So I think there's a balance there on the materials that we create. So being outside, I believe there's more opportunity for a variety of variables to be engaged in children's play, whether that is the wind, the rain, the soil, and then the materials that we provide. So the outdoors is the perfect place for loose parts, open-ended play. So I'm going to go through 5 sort of categories of loose parts that are a great place to start. Some of you might already be converts to the loose parts outside, but hopefully you'll come away with a few new ideas that you can add to your toolbox. I have a link to a QR code. The 5 categories of materials I'm going to go over right now are included in this in a small booklet that will be a QR code coming up. So don't worry about taking notes. All right, this is a no-brainer. Kitchen things outside. This is children of all ages, from young ones all the way up to older school-age children, love playing with kitchen materials. And the 2 things that are important to remember about kitchen materials is they have to be real. Not the plastic fake things that you could put in a play kitchen, but real material, like real pots and pans, real spoons, real things that children will come across at home, that they can dig out of their cupboards. So real materials, and then having a surface for them to work on. Those are the only 2 things you need, and then children will combine and put things together in their own way. Sometimes we call these mud kitchens. Sometimes that turns people off because mud in some settings can be really challenging. So call it a nature kitchen. There's other words we can use to make it a bit more inviting for for either your colleagues to take it on or even for children to play with it, because not all children will embrace the mud. Another thing to consider is not to have a fancy built-in mud kitchen. Have it movable, because that allows children to move it to where they need it, and to really create the type of play that they're looking to play with, to engage with. A friend of mine ran a home-based childcare, and she used to always have a mud kitchen off in the corner of the yard. And one day she dragged it into the middle, and she said it completely changed how the children played. So think about, you don't need to spend how much money to build a nice mud kitchen. All you need is a surface on 2 stumps, for instance, or sometimes we take a pallet, or look, using milk crates and a board gets the same effect. So kitchen things, fundamental materials to add to your outdoor spaces. Buckets and baskets. Children love moving things from one place to another, gathering things. It's sort of an innate thing that we feel we need to do, is gather things. I've also seen baskets put over their head, and now they have a turtle shell, and they're a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle for the next 3 hours. So baskets are easy to find at thrift stores. I think everyone has baskets in their home that aren't necessarily thriving, that could be brought outside. But all these different ways that children have used baskets and buckets. If you're looking to use plastic buckets, you can stand on them. The children love to put water in them and pour in them, all these different things. Consider hardier plastic, like food grade plastic that will survive through the winter, as opposed to sort of flimsy plastic that you might get, say, in a dollar store bucket. So buckets and baskets are a great addition to any outdoor space. Tarps and sheets offer so many possibilities. Here are just a few. The picture on the top here, we used clips to clip the tarps to the trees so the children could have a little play space. The middle picture here is some burlap, and we had the burlap hanging between 2 trees, and these children decided to decorate it with flowers and bits of spruce tree, because burlap has an open weave, so they could do that. I never thought of doing that. Using tarps and sheets for art, for mud drawing, all sorts of different things. Putting a rope between 2 trees, and hanging a tarp off it to create a little lean-to situation is a great little way to create a little home. Either the children can create it, and when they're really young, they need you to help them, or to create it, and then they will play in it. And so there's lots of different ways to use tarps and sheets. I've seen children wrestle under them because they like the sound. Sometimes they sit on them and they drag each other around. Very hardy, and they're easy to come by. Easy to come by old sheets that either at the thrift store or asking your families if they have any materials that they could use. Wheels and sleds, again, children like to move things, and some children really thrive when they have that heavy work, when they need to push things and pull things. And having tires and wheelbarrows and sleds is a great way for children to get that heavy work, to push and pull things around. Some people don't always like tires in outdoor spaces, but I find children really embrace playing with tires. We've made ramps. Again, just that pushing them around is an amazing workout for small children. I've only seen this once, but this furniture dolly was in a play space in an early learning center, and the children loved it. They were pushing each other around on the trolley. They could use it to move stumps, so things that they couldn't move, they could use with the furniture dolly. So I thought that was a really unique material to have to help the children move things around. Boards are also so many possibility with boards in our outdoor spaces. Who needs to buy a teeter-totter when you can make one with a board? And it's an uneven and unusual teeter-totter that makes you move in very unique ways. Balancing. This on the bottom here, this sort of ramp It was a great example of how some materials can just, they meet children where they're at. So a little toddler, 18-month-old, came up to this board. She walked up one side and it flipped, and she walked down the other side. 2 minutes later, a 4-year-old on her Strider bike zoomed by and went over that same ramp. And so materials, when they're open-ended, meet children where they're at and have all sorts of opportunity. So boards are easy to come by. Old fence projects. Where I live, there's so much construction. I could just go into dumpsters everywhere and grab boards. Yeah, so boards are a great thing to add to your outdoor space. So if you want a written down account of those 5 different categories, there's a little paragraph and some pictures if you want to use this QR code for that. And you can take a picture of that QR code. I'll also pass it I'll pass it to Duncan to put in the chat as well. I have just a couple more materials that didn't make it into this little guide, but that I love to play, that I love having in the outdoor space, are ropes. Ropes offer so many possibilities for play. It's incredible. Here are some examples. They love making traps with ropes. So we have a rake hanging over a tire, all wrapped up. We have a snake wrapped around a tree. We have another trap. And this orange rope, I came across it when we were cleaning up one day, and I will admit I may have used some curse words under my breath because I had to untie all those knots at the end of the day. But in my mind, I was thinking all that fine motor work that child was doing as she was tying those knots. It was incredible. So ropes offer so many wonderful opportunities. There's obviously some safety concerns with ropes. Wrapping them around our body isn't great because it can give us rope burn and things like that. But I believe that the benefits of having access to ropes in an outdoor space outweighs some of those risks, and then we're looking out for those hazards that can come up. So rope, I highly recommend. Milk crates, so useful. You can store materials in them, and then they can be used for play, for stacking. You can climb on them. Small children can sit in them. In the winter, we tie ropes to them, and you can pull them around the play space. Those are great. And my final favorite is spools. Spools of various sizes. We have little ones, we have big ones we use as tables. I've had children learn how to walk on top of them, just rolling them around. I really love having spools in the outdoor space. They're great for a variety of things. And here's some different ways that children of different ages have used our spools. And my final suggestion is to get a slide that's not attached to anything. It offers an opportunity for children to make their own playground. They love slides. They love that risky play of moving fast down a slide, but you can move it around your play space. So on one picture here, we have it super steep, and then the other one isn't so steep, but it offers so many opportunities to have a slide that they can move around, that they can build their own play spaces with. Sometimes we put it on tires, we put it on the spool, lots of different ways you can use a slide not attached to anything. And finally, this is how one program used a variety of loose parts to build a little hill in their play space. So they used milk crates, a pallet, a plywood, and made a little hill for the children. They had little crazy carpets that they were going down this over and over again. And so it was a really great way for the educators to use the materials to create some variety in their play space. So I think loose parts can also be inspiring to us as educators. How can we create those invitations for children to try different things? And it sparks your curiosity and your creativity as well. So thank you so much. And here's my information if you want to reach out to me. I love talking outdoor play. And we'll move on to the next session.
Thank you so much, Christina. practical, practical, practical. I love it. And I had never thought of a discombobulated slide. And what a great way as well, if things are broken, to reuse that, if it's lost its bottom bit. Beautiful. I'm thinking about all the ways I could engage with the early childhood folks here and do that. Thank you so, so much. Absolutely brilliant. Okay, we're going to keep on rolling, and please stay to the end, friends, because we will have time, possibly time for Q&A, but we definitely will have time for prizes. So a couple of folks will win some gift cards to the store and the TMO store. But up next, we have two incredible presenters to share with you. Paula Terhune is a registered early childhood educator, an outdoor enthusiast, and lifelong learner. Her early childhood education comes from Algonquin College, and she finished her final practicum in New Zealand studying at Te Whareke curriculum, which I'm sure is related to the Māori, and has an honours degree in linguistics with a concentration in psycholinguistics and how people learn languages. We were talking about that before. And communication disorders. So how folks that can be disrupted. So you have a lot of expertise in how young people learn. And joining Paula is Amy Jo Smith, who is a registered early childhood educator and resource consultant with Children's Inclusion Support Services, seconded to the Canadian Centre for Outdoor Play for a project supporting children with disabilities in outdoor play and learning in natural spaces. I love that you've been co-learning alongside children and families in diverse settings for 2 decades, and are passionate about making accessible, welcoming space for children of all abilities to grow, explore, and thrive. And I can see the focus of the next bit of this presentation is around those things. And it is such an honor to have you both here. So I'm going to spotlight you, and please take the floor and enjoy.
Thank you, Jade. All right. So we will go ahead and get started. And thank you for giving such a great introduction of both Amy Jo and I. So I think I'll just jump right in. So to start, Amy Jo and I both live and work and play on the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people, which we have put a little pin on the map there. You'll see where the Canadian Centre for Outdoor Play is in the Ottawa area. And so I work with Outdoor Play Canada, and Amy Jo does work with Andrew Fleck Children's Services, but we also work in this collaboration that is the CCOP. So that is with our two organizations, along with Algonquin College and the Halo Research Group from CHEO. And so today we're going to talk to you a little bit about the Sprout Able project. So that is the work that Amy Jo and I are doing within this collaborative. And then we'll get into these inclusive kits that we've created and what's in them, and do a little wrap up, and hopefully we'll have some time for a Q&A that we won't take too long with this. All right, so to start us off, the Sprout Able project, it is an extension of the Sprout study, which was a 3-year research initiative launched by the Halo Research Group. And so our work is expanding upon this study to investigate how children with disabilities in outdoor play and learning engage. And so the project aims to enhance physical and social environments of outdoor childcare programs, support professional development for ECs, and design evidence-based strategies to promote inclusive outdoor play. And so I am leading those initiatives as the project manager with Outdoor Play Canada to integrate a strong practice-based perspective into the research. And we work with Dr. Megan James from the CHEO Research Institute to lead the research side of things. And Amy Jo joins us as a resource consultant through Andrew Fleck. And so she's really, connected with the ECEs and the work that they do on a daily basis to inform our work within our project here. So I'll pass it to Amy Jo.
Thanks so much, Paula. It's so good to be with you all tonight. We're just going to dive into what are the inclusive kits that we're talking about tonight. So we wanted to create these kits. The Outdoor Learning Store connected with us and started talking about, we know educators are all busy, and you're all doing the beautiful work of taking children outside in whatever space and land you are playing and learning on. And so we wanted to create these kits to support educators in providing accessible and inclusive outdoor play experiences. We know it can be challenging to meet the needs of many different types of abilities of children when we're in outdoor spaces. And so we wanted to provide supports to help educators engage and provide enriching activities for children. So we developed the kits with educator feedback. As Paula was saying, we work daily with educators in a forest and nature program at the Canadian Centre for Outdoor Play in Ottawa. And we both have many years of experience in different settings, diverse settings with children in the outdoors. And so we looked at materials that we are seeing educators engage with, and we got their feedback. We know that these kinds of materials and activities that we do with children often take trial and error. And some things fall flat, and some things we laugh and we try something else and we carry on. So we talked to the educators, we had feedback from them, what was really working in their programs. And we were out on the land doing observations with what we saw the children engaging in, what we saw them going back to over and over again. And we created these kits that we're just going to talk more about on the next slide. So what's in the kits? You'll see there's two beautiful collections that the Outdoor Learning Store has for you, all curated together. So one is for the preschool age group, and the other is for infant and toddler. So we wanted to think through what are some things that would work for both ages, and a lot of the materials are the same in both kits, but some things in the kits are also specific to that age group. So I'll just go through these really quickly, and Paula's going to dive in more on the next slide. So there's a backpack to keep everything together. There's a clipboard as an educator for you to keep papers and anything you need for documentation. There's a lanyard for visuals because we love visuals. There's a puppet tip sheet that was created by the Sprout Able team. There's a set of 6-finger puppets and magnifying sheets, and there's children's books and educator resources in each kit. And I'll pass it over to Paula.
Thanks, Amy Jo. So yeah, the first few materials are really just about practical materials. So with that backpack and clipboard, which is more about supporting the educators so that you have your resources and your materials easily on hand and accessible. There's nothing worse than being out on the land or away from your, from your licensed space with all your materials, or away from your classroom and realizing that you don't have something that you wish you did. So this way you can, stuff that backpack full of those essential items and take it out with you, whether you're going for a community walk or just out to your yard, or deep into the forest, which we do with our educators on a regular basis. So those can be really handy, along with the lanyard with a ring. So we specifically asked the Outdoor Learning School and Store to add a ring to their lanyard so that you could easily add your own visuals to it. And we intentionally didn't include any visuals with it because we really want you to make your own. That way they are most relevant to your context. And even better yet, we really encourage that you take photos of your own space and of the children you work with, doing the thing that you're trying to communicate, and use that to create your visual cards. The more realistic and the more concrete that connection is between what you're doing with the children and the visual card itself, really helps with communication. And so this is another one of those tools where it's great for a child with a disability, which could be a communications disorder, or could just be some delayed speech. Or just not talking yet, because maybe you work with infants. But it's also great for everyone. So even, your preschooler who has a million words and is very articulate, when they're having a challenging time, those words might not come as easily. And so then visuals can be really helpful. So that's why we wanted to include that there. And then, as Amy Jo mentioned, we also included some puppets along with a tip sheet. So the set here is through the Outdoor Learning School and Stores. This is something that they've already carry, and they're beautiful. And they were so generous to send us some so that we could trial them as we were developing our tip sheet. And so this was something we worked closely with our educators to create, and it outlines the benefits of using puppets outside and how the use of puppets can support inclusion for children with disabilities. And then it also includes just some practical tips to help get you started. So we really want you to check that out, even if using finger puppets is new to you. Or if you're a seasoned pro and you use puppets regularly, I still think it's great to check it out because there might be some tips on there, or the way in which we broke down the how it can support inclusion might be something you didn't really think about before. So you might look at it with a new light.
And I will just add, because I get to observe the educators using puppets out on the land. And this little guy you'll see in the tree, his name is Chippy. And there was one little guy who was really struggling with transition going inside. And he would, if the educator would give him a warning and tell him it was time to go, it was still challenging. But if Chippy came along and gave him the, transition cue to go inside, he was fine. So that's an example of a way that these puppets can be used to help children with transitions. They can also be used to help with regulation. The educators have used them during transition to nap time. The puppet can give the children a hug, help them learn some of that, the regulation skills. They've also been used to help with emotional literacy and social skills, and can replay some of the scenarios that happen in play on the land, helping the children understand some of the boundaries with sticks and building and different activities. So I think we're going to move to the next slide.
Thanks, Amy Jo.
So what else is in the kit? We have included some materials to help the children to really engage more deeply in reflective practice out on the land. So the magnifying sheets, we specifically chose these because they are easier to support children with less fine motor ability. They're easier to hold without a hand grip, and also light and easy to tuck inside a backpack on the way out to the land. They're good for supporting children with low vision, but also, as Paula said, many of these tools, they're good for all of the children. We also wanted to include one of the Indestructibles books, this beautiful book, Let's Go Outside, for supporting literacy out on the land, because we experience some of the challenge in bringing books outside and they get wet, and we have all sorts of weather here in Ottawa. So we discovered this Indestructible set. There's more that you can also find. They are waterproof, they're chew-proof for the little ones that love to experience their books through sensory. And they have so far been indestructible in our outdoor forest setting. This encourages educators reading along with children and helping them reflect on what are they seeing around them. And Me and My Sit Spot is in the early learner, the preschool pack. And I love that Jade mentioned earlier that you will have a chance to hear her go into a deeper dive with the author, Lauren McLean. So this book is a beautiful way to teach children, what is a sit spot? What does it mean to go find a quiet place in nature? There's reflective prompts to help educators engage the children in what do you see? What do you hear? Are there colors? Is there movement around you? And she has included at the back some more prompts for educators as you take the children outside. It doesn't have to be in a forest. It can be anywhere that there's space around you to sit and engage with nature. So 2 more books in the packs, because we love books. In the infant toddler pack, we included the Book of Nature Connection. I don't know if any of you have already used this in your programs, but this is a beautiful book with simple, practical, colorful ideas and examples I love it was mentioned earlier about helping children engage with scents, with smells. There's a beautiful scavenger hunt that's a smell scavenger hunt, one that is a touch scavenger hunt, helping children find things that are soft and hard. And there's also beautiful color wheels for each season, for the spring, for the winter, for the fall, to help children look at their environment around them and find colors in nature. So those are just some examples of the activities in the book. They can be adapted for different age groups. We also included Naturally Inclusive in the preschool pack. This is a beautiful collection of ideas and stories and experience by the author Ruth Wilson, who has many years of experience in outdoor learning. And she has included perspectives of educators and parents and real life stories of children with varying disabilities engaging in the outdoors. So 2 more things I'm going to say quickly because I think we want a little time for question and answer. Hammocks. I put in the chat if you have used a hammock with children and found it a generative experience. We use them every day out on the land from infant to preschool. The children find them so beneficial for regulation. Some of them who have a real need for proprioceptive input spend a lot of time in the hammock. Sometimes it's just that they want a quiet place to go and relax, rest their bodies. They're a perfect place to go in to just take some time away from the input if there's sometimes a lot of sensory input outdoors. So we found those are really beneficial. The sit pads with back support, these are 2 things that are available on the Outdoor Learning Store as well. Some children have more challenge with their core strength, and we don't think always when we're outdoors, there's a lot of sitting on stumps or on the ground, and these seat pads can be really beneficial for children in supporting their core stability.
Awesome.
Back
Thanks,
to
Anita.
Paula.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so last thing we want to leave you with really quick is to check out our Sprout Able website. We've got lots of resources coming up that will be available there. So we do have, I want to highlight our video modules. Those are up. We created 4 videos along with tip sheets to accompany them. And we're hoping we still have another 2 years of this Sprout Able project. Our work is being funded for 2 more years. So over that time, we hope to get a lot more resources up there. So we want you to check back regularly. And then the last is, thank you to everyone for being here tonight and for those that are going to watch later, and to check out the outdoor ECE packs. So they are up and available on the Outdoor Learning School and Store. So you can use that QR to link them. And I'm sure that's something that Duncan will be sticking in the chat there as well. And we hope that you will continue to follow us along on our Sprout Able journey. And I'll give it back to you, Jade. Hopefully we have a little bit of time for some Q&A.
Thank you so much for all of that. Wow. And so important to offer inclusive ways of connecting and see how those resources can be used to make sure everyone's feeling welcomed. And a couple of folks were talking about language, and I feel like this might be one for you, Paula. And I have a personal experience with this, having run a course with Dr. Ruth Wilson, and also with a great educator and friend and accessibility and inclusion officer for the city of Vancouver, I should say, is Karen Lai, and she is a person with a lived experience of a disability. And folks saying not using disability or differently abled or all abled. And I think folks have different feelings about it. And my friend Karen, who lives with the experience of a disability, doesn't like differently abled. She likes to say, I have a disability. That is something that I experience, and that it changes the way that I need to experience the world. And I want to be upfront about that. And that helps her communicate. So I think one of the biggest things for me was just to ask the people that you work with, what's the language that speaks to you, if they're of that age where they can communicate that, or build that into the way that you're communicating. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think, when it comes to language, first of all, there's you'll never be able to say something that everyone's going to like what you said, because there's just too many terms out there for many different things. And so one of the biggest ones that we see is people first language. And so generally that's our rule of thumb. So we would say, a child who is autistic, but a child themselves might identify as an autistic person, right? So they would put the disability first. And so in those instances, then we go with the person. What if that's their preference, then that's what we're going to use when we're referring to them, versus if we're speaking to a whole group. And so again, with the differently abled is definitely not one that we try to use in those types of words. We do say, children with disabilities. Duncan, I think if it worked, I tried to get in the chat. I said at the beginning of this, I wasn't going to use the chat because I hate it. But I tried to share some links with you that are actually from the UN on disability inclusive language guidelines, which are
it's in there.
fantastic. Okay, great. So they actually break it down for kind of some words you might want to avoid and some terms that might be, better received. So I highly suggest you check that out.
Wonderful. And thank you so much for giving us so much within a short time. Christina, I'm going to come to you for a question. Chiame was asking, are plastic shovels okay? And plastic containers and tubs? And, we like to have a mud and snow kitchen because of their climate. And how do you feel about that?
Like shovels? I think they're a great idea. I just, again, caution against the type of plastic you're using. So I get children's shovels from Canadian Tire, and they last really well. Like sometimes like little beach shovels from the dollar store, you'll have shattered plastic everywhere. So there's a type of shovel. I don't know if the Outdoor Learning Store sells it, but it came as a pack of different small little garden implements, and they're solid plastic. They're amazing. They last forever. So just be aware of the type of plastic, and just also in the winter, just monitor as with any material you have outside, monitoring it is important because the elements have a big impact on how long they will survive. So.
Amazing. Great advice. Quality over quantity, perhaps.
Absolutely.
Amy Jo, I have a question for you. You were talking about sit spots and them being really valuable. And somebody asked how, if even I should, do I help guide someone in their answers or their experience? For example, asking, what did you see? And someone saying, I saw a dinosaur. How do you feel about that kind of learning or guided learning experience?
As you're naming that example, Jade, I'm thinking about our reflective practice as educators, really listening to children and also modeling for them. And this book does a beautiful way of modeling for the children myself. Oh, this is what I hear. And today I heard the wind in the trees. Did you hear the wind? And so I think don't necessarily, my first instinct is you don't have to correct them in the moment. You can be intrigued and say, oh, where did you see the dinosaur? And you can model for them what you are seeing and what you are hearing and build that that intrigue for them in the environment around them.
I love that. Thank you so much. I'm going to leave it there because we're trying to honor your time and everyone's time and things. But as you could see, you can connect with Christina, Paula, and Amy Jo in their various places. And in your follow-up email, friends, we'll have really important links so that you can find these friends again. And also on our recordings page, any key links, you'll find linked there. So it'll be in one spot. And yes, I'll say thank you to Duncan. My lovely co-host Rachel is on a bit of a retreat today, and I've had the superstar that is Duncan Whittick in the background here working hard behind the scenes, so we say thank you there. Stick around for prizes, but Amy Jo, Paula, Christina, thank you so much for being here and sharing your wealth of wisdom and expertise. We hope this is just the beginning of more beautiful things that we'll do together. Okay, friends, it's called Random Assignment Prizes, and you, Duncan, I don't know if I told you this, but are you ready to write these down for me, please? Type in or writing it down somewhere. Okay, first winner of a $25 gift card to the Outdoor Learning Store is Wilma Lavelle, W-I-L. Malavelle. I'm doing my spelling, which is challenging at this time of the evening. Wilma Lavelle, you're our winner of a $25 gift card to the Outdoor Learning Store. I will send you an email. Don't worry, we'll find you. And okay, our next winner is Olena Telischak. Apologies if I didn't pronounce that well, but Olena is Olena, and last name Telishchak. Olena Telischak. Well done. You've won a $25 gift card to the Outdoor Learning School and Store. Put it towards one of those awesome kids. Ooh. Okay, our $25 gift card to the Take Me Outside store, where we have beautiful Canadian-made t-shirts, hats, things that say things like "Ask your teacher to take you outside," and they're all ethically produced, and all that money goes back into supporting getting kids outside for learning. Next winner is Michelle Prabushki. Okay, that is MichelePrebushki. Michelle Prabushki. Well done. You win a prize. And the last and not least, but the last winner of this session is Isabel Desbiens. ISABELLEDESBIENS. Isabel Desbiens. Well done. Thank you everyone for being here. I can't believe we've concluded the full workshop series. Thank you to everyone who turned up. Thousands of you, and well over 300 live. We appreciate you so much for being here. Check your inboxes. We'll be sending you the winter workshop lineup soon. And we can't wait to spend time with you again in this space. Have a wonderful evening. Goodbye.